Greetings in the divine name of Supreme Being. I want to greet everyone with civilized greeting in a very uncivilized time. Some people say shalom, some people say peace, some people say shalom, shalom, some people say assalamu alaikum, some people say free the land, alafia, whatever school of thought that you're from. We just simply want to say peace. It depends upon what school of thought that you're from. Shout out to all of those people that are coming on. James Muhammad, Alina, Sean Carter, Miss Soleil, peace, love you to life. You know that. Raymond Muhammad, Calvin, all the people that are coming on, the people that are here on Google Live, peace. All right. So definitely, I'm definitely going to need some help with this lecture. I have books that we will need to gain a knowledge of self. And as I was explaining to someone, it depends on what doorway, what portal that you're coming through to gain knowledge of self. Real quick, if you are coming through the portal of a yogi, then some of the books I'm going to mention until you can get a grasp on what it's going to take for you to take you down that path that a yogi would go down. If you're coming into knowledge of self, if you're coming into knowledge of self via martial arts, I want to pick up a Bruce Lee manual or Jackie Chan or whatever, the I Ching or something. If you're coming into knowledge of self through religious portals and doorways, it may be other books that you might pick up. But to get a place that's going to give you a knowledge of self that will serve as a foundation for you to start out with down that path, because I'm taking it that the majority of the people that ask me this question, as I'm often asked this question, is black, then yeah, this might be the path. So some of the things I might mention may not apply to you. If it do, make it applicable to you, and let's push forward. All right. I'm going to open up the phone lines probably after the 9:30 hour. And the phone number is 678-890912. And probably if you want to introduce some other books to the subject, then we can do that. Or if you're on your phone, peace to Harold Taylor and Aisha Ra. If you are reading a book or studying a book that you think need to be part of the top 25, then let's talk. Peace to DJ Earth One from Washington, show from Detroit, Michigan. All right. It's about 2 degrees outside, and bruh, you don't even want to do it. But happy Savior's Day to all the brothers and sisters of the Nation of Islam. They just gotta look it up. If you don't know what Savior's Day is, just look it up. John Lee from the Heat Mob. Peace, man. Was good. All right. Peace. Just look up Master Fard Muhammad and the whole history of what Savior's Day is actually about. Some people often ask, why is it in Chicago? And if you do the research and the history, of course, you know Mosque number 1 is here in Detroit, where Master Fard Muhammad came in Black Bottom and not going door to door as a silk salesman, trying to reach our people. All right, but anyway, that's not for this week. We'll probably cover that next week when we get into the topic. Andreas, guilty, man. Peace. All right, Khadijah. Peace. Just die. Some of the people that I'm going to name are very dear to me and do not have books that I know that are out there. So when I mention their names, I'm going to talk about aspects of the body of their work. All right. So just keep this in mind. I'm often asked this question, Griff, where can I start? What book could you recommend? These kind of questions. So what I want to be able to do is just kind of give people a basic foundation. I'm not going to go dive into each book, but if there's some books that you want to interject into the conversation, cool. Shout out to the brothers and sisters in Public Enemy, my man Pop Diesel, the rest of the people, brothers and sisters. Definitely those brothers and sisters that are traveling through this inclement weather to attend Savior's Day. Yeah, I'm gonna look for you to answer some of these questions, Cypress. You just ain't gonna be popping on and just like, yeah, I mean, but anyway, let's go. Bible teaches, and some of you baby Bible babblers might want to help me out. You Bible thumpers maybe want to help me out if I'm wrong. The Bible teaches that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Well, if that's God, what knowledge is God talking about? And then what people is God talking about? Shout out to B Son. So we have to be very mindful of what these things are. All right. So let's just talk about a brief sketch of a list that I put together. I'm smiling because I could just hear you thinking right now. All right. Just for my narrow kind of way I kind of came up and understood things, most of which I got to lead up, but we're gonna talk about that as we move forward. All right. So, first book I want to mention, and you might want to write these down as we go along. Shout out to Raymond Muhammad. All right, Charles Rosario. First book I want to mention is Message to the Black Man in America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, I know if you're not coming from that religious kind of school of thought, peace, my sister Phaedra, if you're not coming from that school of thought, then you may look at that book as a religious book and you may not want to go near Islam. All right? But trust me, Message to the Black Man in America is a lot deeper than just a quote-unquote religious book. We're going to wait. The people in Google Live, we're going to wait for the people in Facebook Live to catch back up because it's trying to reconnect. This connection to broadcast has been paused. Consider moving to find a better signal. How can I move and I'm sitting at a desk in a hotel room? That's them people, y'all. For real. Oh, man. Sorry, something went wrong during the broadcast. Hold on. People at Google Hangout, be patient. Hold on 1 second, all right? While I get back on. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Oh, this thing will let 1 second, people in Google Live. All right. Can't start live video. Please check your internet connection and try again. It's the hotel's internet connection, not mine. 25 top books to gain. Oh, this thing is not letting me do this for real. All right, we got to just continue here on Google Live and we'll have to wait to get a connection to go back to Facebook Live. All right. So as I was saying, Message to the Black Man in America is one of those first books that I've actually had the pleasure of reading, not only just as an individual, but in a group setting, simply because those study groups that were set up at the particular time, I believe in Mosque number 7 and other mosques across the country, I had the pleasure of sitting with knowledgeable people that have read the book before and was reading it like I was reading it. But it was under definitely a different kind of condition. All right. So Message to the Black Man is the first book. And I think along with Message to the Black Man, I can honestly say there was a couple of books that was small little pamphlets. Supreme Wisdom Book 1 and Book 2. I also had the pleasure of reading. And then on top of that, it was a few of the books, other books. Your service interrupted. Okay, yeah, I got that. Someone sending me a message. But reading Message to the Black Man, it led me to How to Eat to Live, Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived. It led me to Minister Farrakhan's book, 7 Speeches. It led me to a few other books. So just reading that particular book, it led me to other books that was pretty much in the same vein. And then after getting my X, I had the pleasure of receiving Supreme Wisdom. The Supreme Wisdom, the lessons, and even prior to that, I had 120 degrees because I came up in the 5% nation of gods and earths at that particular time also. So for me, it was a lot kind of going on. All right. I never did go down that traditional, normal academia kind of path that would have led me to the Fanons and Lerone Bennett's and the Maya Angelou's and Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington's, and I didn't go down that path. I kind of got that stuff a little bit later on. All right. So those, 5, 6, 7 books that I just mentioned, that served as a foundation. And that's just my doorway coming in. Your doorway may have been another way. Later on, I had the pleasure of getting introduced to other brothers and sisters such as Ava Muhammad, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, and other brothers, Philip Muhammad, other brothers and sisters inside the Nation of Islam that have actually written books, especially Ava Muhammad. All right, so that was the vein that I kind of came through and in. All right, so I think it was a very real introduction as far as getting knowledge itself. Now, keep in mind, when people mention knowledge of self, that particular language comes up out of the 5% Nation of Islam kind of verbiage, and of course the Nation of Islam. When you start hearing people talking about getting knowledge of self, Christians don't talk like that. The Jehovah Wickedness, they don't talk like that. A lot of people just don't use that kind of language. So more than likely, when you hear people talking like that, they're coming up under Islam, and probably up under, in the 5% Nation, you had an enlightener. And in the Nation of Islam, you kind of went to the mosque and you went to the study groups, and of course, you were in the ranks. All right. So you did have a captain and a lieutenant. So, and then you had someone that led the mosque. Facebook Live would not let me back on some strange, unapparent reason. Please check your internet connection and try again. This is ugly. But anyway, so for the people that are still here on Google Live, let's go to the and let's finish the conversation. Some of the other work that I managed. Are you going to start the broadcast? Hold on. I did. It knocked me off. Nope. Let's try to get on one more time since so many people are asking. Nope, won't let me on. Okay, hold on 1 second, Google Hangout. Let me see if I can use a different phone to get on. Do you have a good signal? I'm answering people as we're going along. No, I don't have a good signal. Hold on for a second. This one is trying to connect to. I guess we can connect to this one. Go live. It's letting me go live. Congrats, you're 25th. Okay, right. Anyway, you know what this brings to mind? The brothers and sisters still in Google Hangout. That here we are trying to educate one another and set in motion strategies to free ourselves using the platform of the very same people that put us in the condition that we're in. So, we can't get mad at them. These are their phones, their internet connection, their hotels. You follow what I'm saying? And this is very, very real, dynamic. So I guess when people look at this particular dynamic and how we have to deal with it, we can only do what we can do, plain and simple. So this broadcast is going to happen in the way it needs to happen. Then we still have to use their technology. All right, so let's keep that in mind. So it may go off again. We're not sure. We just have to do what we have to do. All right. If I had to pick after those 6 or 7 books that I just mentioned, Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Ava Muhammad, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, Philip Muhammad, all those brothers and sisters that have given us that body of work that came through the Nation of Islam that I've studied, and that have kept me studying. All right. And all those people that I've mentioned, those are not the only people that have influenced myself. Keep in mind, I sat at the feet of the elders to get knowledge of self. When you're talking about sitting at the feet of a Haq Islam or a Conrad Muhammad or a brother, or running with the streets of Queens in New York, in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Long Island with FOI, Steve X, Brother Nelson, just a myriad of brothers, then you're talking about constantly having your sword sharpened. Peace to my man Chip, Aaron Allen, Eugene, what's up, bro? LBC. Of course, and then outside of that, studying on your own, reading on your own, going up the First World in Harlem, constantly being tested and sharpened. I'm saying all that to say this: sitting at the feet of the elders, you have to know and understand that the elders are the book. I believe that in African villages, the elders are the book. If you study Timbuktu, if you study the Dogon, if you study different cultures in Africa, the elders are the book. If you go and you look up and you watch the movie, The Book of Eli, at the end of the movie, Denzel Washington, who played that particular character, he was actually the book. So we have to understand this. So when I mentioned people's names like Brother Akbar Muhammad in the Nation of Islam, traveling with that brother and doing the things I've done with that brother, it's almost like reading the book because he was the book. He's developing and writing a physical book right now, but he was the book. When you mention people like Professor James Smalls, who I've known for some time now, all right, he is the book. All right, peace to Will March. When you have friends and sisters like Ava Muhammad, and even if she never wrote a book, she's the book, plain and simple. Even the people that I surround myself with right now and what they teach, I don't care if it's mixing herbs or yoga positions or just daily conversations. These people become the book, because what if they took all the books and burned the books? All right, would we still know? So the scripture teaches, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. What knowledge and what people? As I said early on, right now I carry with me and study the Kabbalion. Some people may look at that and say, what you studying? Witchcraft? You understand what I'm saying? And especially if it's not in their school of thought, they may have something to say about it. But it's all part of me getting knowledge of self and to be balanced and well-rounded. All right. So I mentioned Message to the Black Man, Supreme Wisdom, Book 1 and Book 2. And of course, all those books written by all those brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam. So I also mentioned my good brother, Professor Jeffries, who controls the images, controls your self-esteem, self-respect, self-development, who controls the history, controls your vision, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. I don't know if Dr. Leonard Jeffries, unlike his wife, Rosalind Jeffries, have a physical book. But even if he never wrote a book, Dr. Leonard Jeffries is the book. Dick Gregory has a book out, and an album I think I purchased some time ago. But these gentlemen, these elders, become the book for me. All right. In this new digital day and age, people are putting ebooks up and audio books up, which is a beautiful thing. But you still can't negate the fact that you sit at the feet of someone like Dick Gregory. Yeah, that's getting knowledge in and of itself. Some of y'all doorway into getting knowledge itself may be YouTube. But how many of you sit down with a pen and pad and pause the video and write down and go back and then complete and do your research? We have to be vigilant in that kind of way and going after it. Plain and simple. So let me finish some other books. One of the main books I had to study and read over and over and over again until I got it. You may be a lot smarter than I am. All right. I had to read the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave. I had to read it until I understood it. All right. Talked about it. You're right. Dick Gregory and Dr. Sebi. I'm not sure if Dr. Sebi has a physical book out, but that man, knowing what he knew, became the book. And instead of studying a physical book from him, we study these individuals' lives, and we extract from their lives. That becomes the same as reading a book from them. But the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave, I had to read several times. Some of us pick up quicker than others. I'm not sure. I'm just one of the individuals. I had to go back over it. Then later on, I was introduced to this brother's work, Dr. Bobby E. Wright. I hope you're writing these things down. Dr. Bobby E. Wright, The Psychopathic Racist Personality, Racial Personality, and Other Essays. And Dr. Bobby Wright was one of those individuals that gave us those particular lessons. All right. And when he gave us those particular lessons, he put one book out. I don't know if any other books written by Dr. Bobby E. Wright, but that one book was enough. All right, for me. All right. So this kind of talk is very, very important. All right. So because I get this question all the time, what book do I read? Where do I start? All right. And if I had to say where to start, I don't expect you to start through the same doorway I came through. Wherever you are, start there. If you're into health, start with medicine. Start with Dr. Leola Africa's books. Start with Dr. Sebi's work. Dr. Suzar, start with her work. All those brothers and sisters that deal with that particular science, start with their work, and then through studying their work and reading their books and watching their DVDs, more than likely, you'll run across this other body of work that I'm introducing to you tonight, like The Psychopathic Racist Personality by Dr. Bobby E. Wright. All right? Peace to the 7 joining on. So the next book, The Now Valley Contributions to Civilization by Anthony Browder. That book was so deep, I can't even tell you how long I carried the first one I purchased, how long I carried with me and wore it out until I got the opportunity to meet Dr. Anthony Browder and was able to ask questions, sit at the feet of Anthony Browder at his lectures, study and get it firsthand, and then using the DVD as a supplement to go over the book. And I think that's the best way nowadays. All right. So Anthony Browder's work, and I think I have another one of Anthony Browder's books. The Now Valley Contributions to Civilization Study Guide. Anthony Browder not only has the book, but he has the study guide to go along with the book. So you have to make sure you can get the study guide because it asks very critical questions that you may miss in reading the book. The other book by Anthony Browder is The Browder Files, which is also one of those books that you just can't negate it. You have to go down that path in order to get it because not too many people teach it like our good brother, Dr. Anthony Browder. Egypt on the Potomac is another book that he has written that I read. Taking that book and then going on that sightseeing educational tour around DC, I mean, that's priceless. That's priceless. You could spend the 4 hours that me and Soleil and the family spent at the museum and get a deep-rooted education. You probably have to take some notes, sneak a camera in there, do something, but nonetheless, it's part of you becoming well-rounded, all right, which is a beautiful thing. So I'm just going over not necessarily the top 25, but the way I kind of gained knowledge of self. For the people that are coming back on Facebook Live, we just got knocked off. They wouldn't let me back on. So I'm using a different phone to do that, all right? All right, so let's push forward. Another book that I had to get this brother's body of work up under my belt, falling in love with this brother's work and how he presented his work. A lot of times I read and it takes me a minute. Sometimes I wrestle with different people's work. This brother I'm about to introduce, which you probably already know, it came very easy. Ishaka Musa Barashango, who gave us the book African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide. So it was a very kind of awe-inspiring kind of experience when I was introduced to this brother's work, Ishaka Musa Barashango, because I said, wow, somebody that actually speaks my language. Not that any of the other books didn't, but in the way that Ishaka Musa Barashango teaches really resonated with me, and that became really easy for me. African People and European Holidays, book 1 and book 2, and there's about 4 other books that I believe he's written. I don't have them in front of me, but let's look the brother up, Ishaka Musa Barashango. All right. Next, this brother, Dr. Richard King. When I first started studying melanin, and I started studying the pineal gland along with the pituitary gland and that body of work, understanding what melanin is and biological psychiatry, I've never heard of the term. And when it was introduced to me via this man's work, it was one of those body of works that I really had to wrestle with, simply because it's coming from that academia kind of point of view or perspective. And Brian Diggs, you're absolutely correct. The best way is the pen and the pad and the physical book, although the digital age is good. But guess what, bro? They could just press a button and wipe away the whole digital library. So you're right, the pen and the pad is the best way. But Dr. Richard King, his work made me and forced me to learn these 4 and 5 syllable words that I would need to understand his body of work and to get deeper, all right, into his body of work. It was a challenge for me because I'm one of those, I don't speak the King's English. That's not a medal to pin on my chest. I'm not bragging about that. I just didn't come up in that way. But having to understand Dr. Richard King's work, it made me pick up the dictionary, thesaurus, even a medical dictionary and other things in order to understand his body of work. So hats off to Dr. Richard King, who gave us Melanin, the book on melanin, and he gave us the African origin of biological psychiatry. All right. Now, keep in mind that earlier work that I mentioned, coming through the Nation of Islam, of course, I had the Message to the Black Man, the Holy Quran, the Bible, the dictionary, and a few other things. Now there's a guide where the brothers go through the lessons and they give you where are the lessons, where these different things are in the Holy Quran and the Bible. So it's a lot easier now. They got the lessons online and on YouTube. So there's no excuses nowadays for you not to get it. All right. So anyway, in mentioning that body of work from starting from off with Elijah Muhammad, of course, other brothers that I sat at the feet at was Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, of course. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. All right. Like I said, like there are other brothers. And even when I mentioned the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, there are books now written about Minister Farrakhan. So you know when you do a body of work and then someone writes about your body of work that you've done, yeah, that's something else. That's not only great, but great and good and powerful, and probably last a lot longer than our physical life will last. So when you read Defending Farrakhan, book 1 and book 2, it takes you deeper into not only the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, but understand the mind of Farrakhan. All right. Shortly before that, right after I was in touch with and married to the work of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I came in contact with this brother, going back and forth from Long Island to Harlem up at First World. Shout out to those brothers and sisters at UAM, at the Slave Theater, to African Poetry Theater in Queens, all of the places that I used to go to sit down and study. But this brother, probably one of those brothers that led the charge, if my memory serves me correctly, with this particular book, The Black Man of the Nile and His Family, Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinen. We affectionately call him Dr. Ben. If you claim that you're out there and you claim that you have knowledge yourself and you haven't read one of Dr. Ben's books, you don't have knowledge yourself. Plain and simple. I'm going to look right in the camera and say that you don't have knowledge yourself. You do not have knowledge yourself. If you haven't read one of Dr. Ben's books and understand an overall view of what we are trying to do from that perspective, and listen, and getting knowledge yourself don't mean that you can just regurgitate facts. Are you following what I'm saying? It has to build character with what we're learning, and what we claim that we know. All right, to whom much is given, much is required. All right, so you have to have went through the pages of Dr. Ben's work. Plain and simple. All right, so, and Dr. Ben, I believe, have 8 books out. So you can look up Dr. Ben's work on YouTube. Let me move. And then, and even if you kind of figure that kind of wisdom is outdated, you can go and study the man that's on the scene today that picked up the baton of Dr. Ben, which is Ashwa Kwesi, him and his wife, Mary Rock Kwesi. You could pick up their work and study the body of work that Dr. Ben has done, and then their body of work. All right. So, you know, Kobe Lloyd, you're absolutely right. Dr. Ben work are very serious, very, very serious. And it has to build character, like I said before. Monty Cable, Monty Baruti, in the 18 to 20 books that he's put out, teaches us this. In studying this, it has to build character. You knowing all this stuff, and you still a pimp, and you still a hustler, and you still a trickster, and you still playing the tough guy, that's not building character. What good is all of this that we know if we still doing this? If you know all of this and you have all these books collecting dust in your homes, and you claim that you've read all of this, all right, but you still a no good nigga, then what good is any of these books? All right, you might as well scroll on down the dial and go listen to somebody else's show, because if this, you studying, getting knowledge yourself, don't humble you, build character, and cause you to fall back in love with your people and to serve your people, then what good is it all? We got a lot of people taking the knowledge and using women. A lot of people that know all this stuff and just using people. All right, to claim that we know. A lot of young cats are coming in, watching YouTube clips and reading a couple of books and disrespecting the elders, whether they're in the ancestral realm or they're among us physically. No good. If this doesn't build character, what good is it? So, coming up and studying Dr. Ben's work, it led me to Dr. John Henry Clarke's work. All right, and just to study the African Holocaust through his lens, his eyes, dealing with Christopher Columbus, woke me up. And then to know that Wesley Snipes had put the money up for him to do the Great and Mighty Walk. That documentary you have to see. All right, a Great and Mighty Walk, and that's something that moms that are homeschooling might want to look that up right now. A Great and Mighty Walk. Play that for your children and have your children sit down and watch that, because Dr. John Henry Clarke, an elder, ancestor, walks us through history, and we need that. I became in touch with the Runoko Rashidis that travel all around the globe and do the research. Studying John Henry Clarke's work, it put me in touch with Cheikh Anta Diop. Now, some of y'all sophisticated Negroes, Dr. Diop, if you know French, but we affectionately say Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. All right, but I've learned and what Diop was talking about when he talked about the ice people and the sun people, and it gave me a better understanding of what Elijah Muhammad meant when he talked about Yaqub. And not only to look at it through just one lens and one perspective, I began to be able to create this balance in me having knowledge of self. Diop did that for me. Now I know you're saying, well, Diop married a white woman and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Guess what? I'm settling on the best part. I mean, can y'all rock with that? I'm not going to agree with probably a few of the people that I've mentioned, because that's just me not having knowledge of self. I got to catch up to their body of work. But right now, I'm not concerned about who Diop slept with. I'm settling on the best part of Diop. I'm settling on the best part of Frederick Douglass, who also married a white woman. So we're not going to have that discussion tonight. I'm settling on the best part. All right? Their works led me to this brother, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. And I don't know if anyone that I know of other than Dr. Ben and Baruti have more books and work than this brother, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. It's one of those kind of brothers that every time you turn around and you finish one, it's like, dang, he got 8 more? Like, so in sitting in study groups, having to decide what books of Ivan Van Sertima, but reading Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, by the time you get to Eugene Adams, Africans in Asia, you would appreciate it, especially if you're homeschooling. All right. So Ivan Van Sertima's work also. Now, let's pause there and rewind the tape. Early on, in not only studying the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work led me and forced me to read other books, like The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson, which, how could you call yourself Black and celebrating Black History Month and you don't know who Carter G. Woodson is? And The Miseducation of the Negro. You have to know who Carter G. Woodson is. Plain and simple. Carter G. Woodson's work led me to the Booker T. Washington's, to study Ida B. Wells, to study Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass' work, Lerone Bennett, Fanon. I could go on, but certain bodies of work will lead you to other work, and it's cool to go down those paths, but to stay grounded, because it gives you a well-rounded view. Hold on. It gives you a well-rounded view. So when you have those discussions, you're able to talk from one point of view and perspective, and if someone brings another point of reference, you're able to have that discussion also. So the reason why we're celebrating a Black History Month is due to our good brother, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. A quick mention and quick note, Dr. Naim Akbar at that time gave us Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. This is one of the books that stayed at the base of my brain that caused me to entitle my book The Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop, because of the psychology element that Naim Akbar gave us. All right. And then I spoke about Frantz Fanon, but Fanon gave us The Wretched of the Earth. And knowing, and brothers and sisters going to college now and coming back with this brand new kind of way that they are approaching things, it forced me to study Fanon. And even now when I speak at universities and colleges, like I did today, and I spoke about Frantz Fanon, and Frantz Fanon asking us to ask ourselves 3 questions: who are we, where are we, and are we all that we ought to be in this world? That's Fanon, The Wretched of the Earth. All right. Of course, like I said, Diop gave us Civilization of Barbarism. Study his work because it talks about the Sun people and the Ice people. When we start talking about brothers like Professor Smalls, who is a book in and of himself, and able to help us synthesize all of this stuff, because it's a lot. He's a walking library. Any way he's at, we need to go support and see him and sit at the feet of Professor James Smalls. All right. In my traveling and getting to know people and studying the body of work that I wanted to put together, I ran into this brother. Y'all might know him, you might not know him. The Conscious Rasta, Kidi Obi Owadu. That brother just doesn't know. Wow, somebody just came on, that shorty from the lynch mob, man. Peace to God. For real, we need to talk, bro. For real. My phone number is 678-557-2919. Call me, shorty, for real. We need to talk, all right? All right. But in traveling and understanding that body of work, I run into people that have studied the same body of work, and we're able to conversate. So then when you start talking about coming from that, as a lot of people say, that Nation of Islam mindset, I did a program, or a show rather, and I went over how white folks got so rich, which touched a few people, and they've contacted me. I wish I could have went over the Washington, D.C., a guide for black folks, and the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, which all y'all know already, is the book that got me in some hot water with Public Enemy when it was a manuscript. And now I think they're up to book 3, with a secret relationship between blacks and Jews, book 1, book 2, and book 3, as a matter of fact. Yeah, they're up to book 3. So yeah, but in Minister Farrakhan doing his work, it led me to this other book, which was the #1 bestseller, The American Directory of Certified Uncle Toms, which you need to get that book. Because I saw some stuff on that Stephen A. Smith said today, which I wanted to throw something at the screen. Just Negro cooning, that's all. But anyway, we're going to put some money together and buy this book, The American Director of Certified Uncle Toms, and we're going to send it to a few Uncle Toms, like Stephen A. Smith. All right? Yeah, so moving right along. Negroes and the Negro nests. I was talking about Kidi Obi Owadu, who gave us Road to Power, pardon me. Study his book and his body of work. It fills in some of the gaps and gives you almost like that cement that helps cement some of this stuff together. You know, not to negate the Vincent Hardings of the world, There Is a River, or Autobiography of Malcolm X, not to negate any of those books. But a lot of times I would meet people and say, yo, wow, you know, I wrote a book. I'm like, no, I didn't. And they would give me the book, and in turn, I would read it, carry it with me, and it became part of me getting knowledge of self. Like it is when I met Philip A. Muhammad, who gave me Willie Lynch's Newest Slave. And it talked about the hip hop nation. And he actually named the names of the corporations and the people and the companies and these people that actually, you know, were taking advantage of hip hop artists and that kind of thing, which is very critical. It blew some things that came to me writing my book or books. Very important. All right. Hold on. Bear with me. I know y'all been waiting for this, but my good brother, who I actually had to sit in a study group to begin to wrap my mind around his work, Dr. Amos Wilson. And Soleil will tell you, I listen to Dr. Amos Wilson every single week. Every single week. Him, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Shaka Musa Shango, and some other people I don't want to mention. But we'll talk about them also in a few minutes. But Amos Wilson's book, The Psychology of Self-Hate, I'm talking about his lecture, is just, I have to constantly go back over it because I'm wrapping my mind around like, wow, I cannot believe that the man's an ancestor now, but he's speaking as though he's speaking for today. I didn't get to the ISIS papers yet, man. Don't worry. So you jumping ahead of time. All right? Indira, you moving too fast, sis, for real. I didn't get to the ISIS papers yet. But Dr. Amos Wilson's book, The Blueprint for Black Power, and the other 6 books, I believe, Dr. Amos Wilson have written. Dr. Amos Wilson. It's just a must. If you claim you have knowledge of self and you don't know who Dr. Amos Wilson is, you don't have knowledge of self. Dr. Neely Fuller, who gave us the compensatory code, we affectionately call it the code, along with Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's book, The ISIS Papers, all right, The Keys to the Colors. And as you all know, if you ever heard me speak, you always know I mention the sister, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and of course, Dr. Neely Fuller. And Dr. Layla Africa is one of those books when I go to talk about health and wellness, I talked about Dr. Layla Africa book. And now that I have to do the numerology, I got to talk about King Simon and his body of work. All right. So we have to, it's a vast body of work that if you claim you have knowledge of self, you at least have to have these books. Get them before the price go up and get them before they start burning them. Get them before these people come in and start buying the publishing and you can't get them. You go online now and try to get some of these books, they're hundreds of dollars. Malachi, come on, bro. You jumping ahead of the game. I'm going to talk about the Tavistock Institute. I didn't get to that body of work yet, but let me finish. This good brother, I don't even know how I would have made it through what I've made it through with the turmoil I went through in public enemy if it was not for this brother, our good brother, Dr. Tony Martin. Tony Martin gave us Race First, He wrote a book on Amy Garvey, Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. He kind of goes back over the Pan-African Connection and the Jewish Onslaught. You got to read Dr. Tony Martin's work. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to. It's just like again, one of those brothers that has given us a body of work that have glued some things together for me as an individual, Dr. Tony Martin. I'm not rushing, but you can't even begin to understand what it's like to try to have knowledge of self without reading the ISIS papers. Dr. Francis Cresswell, you just have to do that along with Neely Fuller's book, The Code. All right, sisters. Wow. I don't know if I had enough time in my lifetime to mention the contributions of Queen Afua and what it did for me in understanding the feminine side of every male and what we have to go through in order to understand this body of work through the lens of a woman. Queen Afua has provided that, and the people that she's touched that has given us work, whether they've written books or not. They could just have classes set up, and we've benefited from Queen Afua's work through other people. Let's not forget that. But no buts. Dr. Joy DeGruy, in what she has given us, Soleil said, yes, Sacred Woman, and the other books that she's given us gives you a well-rounded view. All right. I don't care if you just go in and thumb through it and you get some protocols or some yoga positions or whatever. We have to begin to be well-rounded and balanced in what we do. But Dr. Joy DeGruy, the post-traumatic slavery syndrome, I've heard that concept through Professor Smalls and began to study it under Professor Smalls. But when I heard it from Dr. Joy DeGruy, wow. Whew, it just did something else for me. You understand what I'm saying? And you're right. So like, man, heal thyself, because we do need healing. As an individual, I know I do. Because a lot of times we go off thinking that the attitude and the position that we're taking is the correct attitude, when a lot of times when we conduct ourselves in that way, you do more harm to the self. So I understand that now, but I'm older than I understand it. I wish I'd have got it when I was 25. Seriously. So shout out to Dr. Joy DeGruy. Shout out to my sister. Let me see if I can find her book to do it justice. And of course, your Queen Afua's Sacred Woman, Queen Afua's Man, Heal Thyself, City of Wellness, all the other books by Queen Afua. Let me find this sister's book so I can do it justice, and here it is. I've met her. She probably don't even know that she's met me. She probably don't remember. But this sister, Dr. Suzar, what can I say? She's a rare gem among us. And she gave us Blackout Through Whitewash, which is another one of those books. If you're homeschooling, you just have to have Blackout Through Whitewash. Just to take your children through that book is, wow, a valuable lesson in and of itself. All right. Keep in mind, if you're thinking that we're going to sign off at 10, we're not, because we kind of had this broken thing going on. So I'm going to continue it until we kind of exhaust this. All right. Blackout Through Whitewash, Dr. Suzar, S-U-Z-A-R. Look her up. All right. We have to have her body of work. All right. And you're right. Heath, powerful resource. And we have to wrap our arms around that sister and wrap our minds around her work. Dr. Suzar. Someone wrote me a message. What about the Bible? What about it? If you don't have a guide to the Bible and know how to break those codes in the Bible and understand it from a historical perspective, and stop taking it literally, then well, what about it? Elijah Muhammad called it the poison book. And it will remain the poison book until you have a thorough knowledge of yourself where you can understand it. And then go back to the Bible and read it with your new mind. That language is not mine, it's the scriptures. Go back to it with a new mind. Instead of the mind that your grandmother's grandmother had, who was probably picking cotton or something. All right, there ain't no more cotton to pick. Go back and read the Bible and study, not read it, but study the Bible with a new mind. All right. This brother, I have to actually take my hat off to. Which most of y'all don't know this brother, but you have to get his body of work if you're going to understand Philip Muhammad's work. If you're going to understand Black Dot's work when he's urban decoded and hip hop decoded, you have to understand Culture Bandits by Del Jones. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right. Del Jones was one of those individuals I had the pleasure of rolling with for a minute and sitting down at the feet of this brother and understanding his body of work. Now, I'm saying all this to say, look, all of our good work and best work is not behind us if it's in front of us. So those of y'all that are listening to the sound of my voice and watching this and participating in this show with me, all right, it's up to y'all. I have my body of work that I'm putting out in the area that I feel I know best. I'm waiting on you. Starting with Soleil. Where's your body of work? I want to see it. I want to read it. I want to touch it. You understand what I'm saying? That if you return to the essence tomorrow, I want to be able to say, here's that sister's body of work. Shout out to Drea in the House of Consciousness in Virginia. All right. Which hopefully I'll be going back through there. All right. But Del Jones, Culture Bandits. Sister, we talking about bruh. Bruh what? Come on, man. Jamal Crawford. What's the name of your book, Uno? Give me the name of your book, man. Soleil said, you know I'm working on it. I got you. I ain't gonna put you on blast. But Uno, what's the name of your book, man? Jamal, put the name of your book in so we can see what the name of your book is. All right. Let me see. Del Jones wrote The Black Holocaust. All right. Another one of those brothers that we've kind of overlooked, man, gave us a body of work, told us what this music industry was about a long time ago. So how can we forget, you know? Lori Price, you got to put the name of the book in. I can't click because it just says see more. Is that Seymour Butts or Seymour what? Put the name of the book in so we can shout it out. Griff, what do you think about Alex Jones being? We're not talking about that right now. Ali, that's another time, bro. All right, you interrupting the vibe, man. We'll talk about Alex Jones and that some other time. But speaking about Alex Jones, we have to talk about a book that have actually touched my life, and I've actually used to sell this book. Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. It's Gilly, that's child's play, bro. Bronx did not start this rap shit. No. There was the Watts Prophets, Gil Scott Heron. There was poets that predated the Bronx starting rap, bro. So get the history right, man. Come on. Let's not start that today. All right. But Behold the Pale Horse. I mean, if you talking about, you claim to know Illuminati, you claim to know New World Order, you claim to know that body of work, and you haven't read William Cooper's book, Behold the Pale Horse, then you don't know. So before we can even get to the Alex Jones and the Jordan Maxwells and the Michael Tessarians and the David Ikes, we got to talk about William Cooper, who gave us Behold the Pale Horse. All right. Not to neglect and negate none of them other gentlemen. All right. But yeah. So in reading his book, it led me to the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. It led me to Codex Magica. It led me to all those other books, which led me to the Alex Joneses of the world. All right. Which also, you might not agree, but it also helps you with the balance. So when you go among them to go get our people, because some of our people are wrapped up into their work. When you go on the Alex Jones, so some of our people our people are listening. They're wrapped up into Illuminati. They're wrapped up into New World Order. They're wrapped up into that stuff, and you're going to have a decent conversation with them. You got to go inside that body of work to go get them. Plain and simple. It is what it is. All right. No, I did not forget Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, which I know I should have mentioned earlier. All right. John Trey, it's cool, bro, to build a library both on a digital tip and physically. I prefer physically to back up the digital because they can just, with one push of the button, they can get rid of the digital. And I did not forget the destruction of Black civilization. So please make a mental note of that, because I don't want you to get off on here thinking that I didn't mention those two books, and those are the foundational books. Stolen Legacy by Dr. George G.M. James. The brother got his throat slit from ear to ear from giving us that body of work. The least we can do is read the damn book. And The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Somebody please give me the name of the 16 crucified saviors. Please, I believe it's Kersey Graves, but I want to be sure. When I mentioned Ava Muhammad, I also should have mentioned Tanetta Muhammad, the body of work that that sister has given us. And then not only them two sisters giving us a body of work, they gave us a living example of that body of work through their everyday deeds. All right. So Tanetta Muhammad and Sister Dr. Ava Muhammad. All right. I cannot forget Jacob Carruthers, Shashi McIntyre. Oh yeah, it says Kersey Graves, 16 crucified saviors. Thank you. Heath, really appreciate that. Intellectual Warfare, Jacob Carruthers. One of those books that I would not have sought out, but since I was connected to the Obadeli Williams and the Asa Hilliards, which also have a body of work, I'm connected to Madhu Bookstore, Sister Nia. I know Yah Baruti and Wadamu K. Bamadi Baruti. And of course, I had to hear Jacob Carruthers' name, one way or the other. And I had to go pick up Intellectual Warfare. I don't consider myself an intellectual, but if I'm going to have that conversation and go break bread, even though I'm not an Uber driver, I want to go break bread with those brothers that are intellectual. I want to go sit down and have a conversation with those people. All right. So I had to study Intellectual Warfare. And then even talking about on a cultural tip, when I mentioned a Black Dot who gave us Hip Hop Decoded, I got to mention Siddiqui Bakari, all right, who gave us his body of work. Too many books to mention, but if you talk about magnum opus, the brother who's dealing with transhumanism and trying to understand how they're mixing machines and human beings and meshing them together, you got to go down and study I'm not doctor, but soon to be Dr. Siddiqui Bakari's work. All right. We can't get around that. And of course, Introduction to African Civilization. Of course, Phaedra Nelson. I'm right here in the D. Shout out to Phaedra. Of course, that body of work is very, very, very necessary. Black Dot coming back behind my work and coming with another book that had me going back to study. He came back with Hip Hop Decoded, then he came back with Urban Culture Decoded. All right. Which these people have laid out, and sacrificed a good portion of their lives to give us this work. We owe it to them to read and put their work under the magnifying glass. All right. In mentioning Queen Afua's book, I can't forget a brother who's brought me so far through understanding the deeper essence of things. I don't even know how some of y'all do it and claim that you got knowledge yourself and you haven't studied The Wounded Womb by Phil Valentine. I don't even know how you got through calling yourself having knowledge yourself and you never studied the man's body of work. All right. The man took a break and went and did the Kemetic Communiversity and then came back and still teaching. I don't even know how y'all do it. This brother, even if he never wrote The Wounded Womb, we have to, all but get on one knee, take our hats off to this brother, Dr. Phil Valentine. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. I don't even know how I would have been able to understand the esoteric meaning of things and the exoteric meaning of things and metaphysics if it wasn't for Phil Valentine. All right? Hell, if it wasn't for A.A. Rashid coming up out of prison and giving us a body of work. You understand what I'm saying? And then when I heard Dr. Wesley Muhammad, True Islam, say that Islam is African, that just set something off in my brain. It had me go back to study his whole body of work. All right? I'm not going to get into whether or not it's some of y'all or most of y'all like or dislike some of these people. These men and women that I'm mentioning have sacrificed their lives to see all of us elevate in our consciousness. The least we should do is study their work. Plain and simple. It's you know, even when you go to study self, which is the main thing you should study, because to know self is to know God. All right? We have to understand in knowing self, and even before you go out and read some of these books, you have to be healthy mentally, spiritually, and physically to do that. So I have to mention Dr. Scott Whitaker. I have to mention Layla Africa and all those brothers and sisters that want to keep us physically alive. Dr. Melanie. All right? We just have to do that, plain and simple. And all those brothers that are giving us books today as we speak. There was a book, I can't remember the sister's name, but maybe y'all could tell me. Sister Ma'at wrote What's in Your Womb, I think, which was a small book, 150, 200 pages or so, which, wow, I mean, and understand Craig being in your womb, sisters. You got to get Craig out of your womb. You understand what I'm saying? Get Craig's energy off of you. And that sister did it for me with that book that she put out. Brother, please tell the folks on Google Hangout to mute their mics. People on Google Hangout, can y'all mute your mics? I really appreciate that. Can you mute your mics if you're on Google Hangout? All right, I'm going to be on for another 15 minutes or so. Can y'all mute your mics? Thank you. Sister Catherine, please mute your mic, someone says. All right. But A.A. Rashid and Dr. Wesley. All right. If Nuri Muhammad has a book, I want to know the name of it. Because I want to be like mine with the brother. Plain and simple. Because that brother's mind is just awe-inspiring. I want to be like mine with Nuri, so I want to read the body of his work. I want his flesh to be my flesh, his bone to be my bone. If you'll understand that in an esoteric way. But nonetheless, I want to be able to understand that brother's body of work. I didn't, coming up and studying, I didn't want to only read what Malcolm had to say and hear Malcolm. Hell, I wanted to be Malcolm. What's wrong with that? When I studied martial arts, I wanted to be Bruce Lee. I mean, if I'm going to study it and be it, I might as well be it. And those were the brothers that was there at that particular time that I used as a mental and spiritual so-called role models. Then come on, we all know that God is the primary ancestor and role model. But I'm saying, I think I went through all of the books that I think I've had listed. Now, I didn't get a chance to get to all of them. Of course, Seven, we're not going to forget H. Rap Brown and all those brothers and sisters that came out of the Black Panther Party and that particular experience that gave us books. All right? Of course, we're never going to forget them. Even some of the people that have written books that operated on the periphery of the civil rights movement, on the Black Power movement, we're not going to forget about them either. So I know I've probably mentioned more than 25 books. I probably mentioned more like 40 or 50. But nonetheless, if just these books are not on your shelf, if you haven't put these books under the microscope and studied them, where else can we go? Our story needs to be told to us, by us. All right? And that's a very real dynamic. All right? Our books need to be told to us, by us. I mean, our story needs to be told to us, by us. That's real. There's no way around it. All right? If I want my children's children to understand the dynamic of Black love, you have to get Ava Muhammad's book. If I want my children's children to understand how to write protocols and put stuff together, then the soul ladies of the world have to write the book to leave us for us. And all you other sisters that are out there that are doing tantric yoga and Kemetic yoga and Chinese herbal medicines and all this other stuff, all right? The book is in you. You're a walking book. But can we see it physically? I'm challenging y'all. I mean, there's a few people out there that know that this was a challenge for me, for real, to do 300 pages of this. But I had to challenge myself and show and prove to myself that I could put it together. All right. So those people that are on Google Hangout, this was my challenge. Psychological covert war on hip hop was my challenge. Analytics was my challenge. The Warriors Tapestry was my challenge. And I'm forgetting my own books. The Acapella Revolution, which y'all slept on. Come on. I'm giving you the Public Enemy formula in the book. I'm giving you the formula on how you study, and then from what you study, construct it and put it in a song. I gave you all the formula. You slept on it, but that's all right. Not to say that I'm the best knower when it comes to this Illuminati stuff or hip hop or what. I'm not. You know, I am because we are, therefore I am. Am I right? Come on, talk to me on Google Hangout, right? All right. So I'm pulling from y'all's energy. Plain and simple. But I'm going to leave y'all with this. When you pass on to the ancestral realm, how are they going to remember you? Come on, talk to me. How are they going to remember you on Google Hangout? How are they going to remember you? Can you write something for me down here? Jaja, the God, how are they going to remember you, man? Brother Diggs, how are they going to remember you? DJ Earth One, how are they going to remember you? You understand what I'm saying? What's going to read on your tombstone? The nigga that made it rain in the club? How they going to remember you? What you going to be known for? You understand what I'm saying? Come on now. We have to leave our legacy for 7 generations behind us. All right? And that's how we have to think and move forward. Plain and simple. I want to be known for the body of work that I've yet to complete yet. Ex-Minister to the Edge of Panic, which is my next comic book. I'm doing the research now for my biopic. Hopefully it'll be part of the Public Enemy movie. Not sure. I have a couple of more books in me, of course. I want to be able to do a martial arts DVD of self-defense. You understand what I'm saying? Because it may help some people. But these are the 3 projects that I want to accomplish this year. How about you? What you got in front of you this year? Talk to me. Because if you going nowhere, any road to take you there, right or wrong. So I want to be able to, Richard said, change the laws of quantum physics. That's what you're trying to do? Black power, bro. Do the damn thing. Yeah, do the damn thing. A real brother of combat for the streets. I need your help on that, Chip. For real, let's do it together, bro. We need to put together some techniques and make that DVD that we can give to our people on some basic self-defense. How do you defend? How do you teach the sisters to defend themselves against somebody that, you know, is running up on them late at night when they walk into their car, whatever? We need some real combat exercises and combat techniques we need to pass on to the sisters. All right, let's leave something for them. Plain and simple. So, but how are they gonna remember you? I'm working on healing the Black nation. DJ Earth One, thank you. We have to, how are they gonna remember us, man? So all of us have a book in us. All right. I want to see your body of work. All right. Brother Richard said, I'm able to slow down time with my mind. Yeah, well, do me a favor, Brother Richie, with that particular science and that knowledge you got. Can you go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and slow that shit down for me? Really appreciate that. Anyway, my time is up, brothers and sisters. I love y'all to life. Peace. This is Professor Griff. I got to go. I got to get ready for Brother Rich, man. I love y'all, man. I'll see y'all next week. Peace, man. Peace. Got to go. All right, y'all on Google Hangout. I love y'all, man. But I got to go get ready for Brother Rich. My thing is at 11 o'clock. All right. We'll talk next week. I'm in Detroit, Savior's Day, so I'll see y'all. Peace, y'all.
Peace.